Kris, let's be real, dude. Once you make a certain amount of money, it doesn't even need to be millions of dollars net a month or anything. Once you make a certain amount of money, like everything lifestyle-wise is not going to change significantly.
Welcome back to the Kris Krohn Show. Today, I've got Eddie Maalouf. If you don't know this name, this dude is basically the marketing genius behind over 100 companies that are collectively doing over $2 billion of revenue every year right now. In other words, he's a freaking unicorn, and he's got a freaking whole stable of unicorns. And I want to talk to him today for a number of reasons. But from a professional point of view, brother, unicorns are hard to come by. Like finding those marketing geniuses, and you've got over 200 of them that work for you, but you've got like 10 that are like the creme de la creme. And you're young. You've been in the space for the last decade, and you're clearly crushing it. And so I want to learn more about what's going on in your world, what's working right, and what keeps you up at night about where we're at in the world.
Well, I'll tell you this. I appreciate the stable of unicorn comment. That's pretty cool. I've never actually looked at it that way, so it kind of gives me a different perspective.
I don't want to be called a rainbow warrior.
So basically, here's how I kind of look at it: is in the marketing space, you know probably more than I do. How many times do you get hit up about marketing? Is it pretty common?
I don't have an inbox anymore because I hate every douchey marketer on the planet that is trying to reel me in with selling me their thing.
Exactly, right? And so the problem is most of them selling their thing is actually like shit covered in gold, right? And everyone's kind of like trying to sell you all this stuff on the marketing side. And the reason is they're so focused on trying to sell you that they're not focused enough on actually being good at the shit that they're trying to do, right? And so how I looked at it was if I could build a stable of unicorns, never looked at it that way, and bring all the best of the best into one place, then my product will speak for itself. And from there, from a marketing perspective, if I get a Kris Krohn to work with me, and Kris Krohn makes tens of millions of dollars more because he's working with me and my team, then Kris Krohn goes to all his other guys. And so all these guys are just focused on like, how can I get Kris Krohn? Where I'm like, how can I get all the guys that Kris Krohn wish he could hire to come work for me? So
and that must be why you gave your company's name Bad Marketing.
100%.
Makes no sense, bro.
Makes no sense.
No, that's like Fat Burger. I don't get it. Like, why bad marketing?
You know, here's the story. I've actually never told this story publicly. So basically, dude, I had an old company called 4Media. Okay, 4Media. We basically got into a lawsuit because there's another company out of the UK who had the same name. And so for everyone listening, like, make sure you're the first person to use your name, right? Step number one. But anyways, we got into a big lawsuit. They're basically trying to sue me for the name because they had a contract a month before me, even though I had all the media, all the attention, everything was on me, right? They were basically getting the fruits of my labor, and I wasn't getting anything from them, right? But we got into a lawsuit, and I was like, you know what, screw these guys. Let me turn this into a win. How do I turn this into a win? So we started trying to reframe the company itself. How do we think of a different name? And we thought of like thousands of names, dude. And every name you can think of is like either a good name, someone's already used it because everyone starts a marketing agency from their basement, from their mom's bedroom, doesn't really matter. Or number two, it sounds like some shit tech company and like you don't want to just be another dude in the pile, right? And our CFO sarcastically said, why don't we just name it Bad Marketing? Like this is the
like genius marketing moment.
Yeah. And everyone's like, ha, that would be so stupid. And I'm like, stop.
That's the idea.
That's fucking incredible. And so we went on the board. We started figuring out like what could BAD stand for? How can we turn it into?
And what does it stand for?
Bold and disruptive. So bold and disruptive marketing. And so we wanted to stand outside the box. You know, if you get an ad from Bad Marketing, it's a damn good ad. You're going to click on it and be like, who the fuck are these guys, right? Who's audacious enough to call themselves Bad Marketing and do a good job? Like you have to have both for it to make sense, right? If I'm a really shit marketer, I'm Bad Marketing. I mean, that's the end of the company right there, right? And so obviously I had to do all this stuff to get the handles, the websites, all this stuff. But long story short, we were like, how could we disrupt the marketplace? How could we have someone see our name and never forget it? And I guarantee from this moment on, you'll never forget the name Bad Marketing.
That's actually why I'm like, okay, I want to know this dude because the name is genius. Tell me about you. Like, I want everyone to understand you from a big world perspective point of view. You've got 350 clients. They're paying six figures for you to basically step in, run their marketing show. That's a huge financial responsibility. And let's be honest, that's a shitty job. It's hard. You have a lot of people hating on you if things aren't going. Like, it's a hard game, right? Like, sometimes the marketing is getting figured out. Sometimes it's not getting figured out. There's things outside of your control that are shifting and changing that game. Do you ever feel like totally stressed at times? Like, oh my gosh, I hate my life. This is such a hard game.
Dude, I'm 30 and I have more gray hairs than my 50-year-old friends.
Okay.
Just for context, I have great chest hair. Like that's how fucking stressed I am, right? I just got my blood results back, and they're like, your cortisol, your stress is like absolutely like maxed out at this point. You know what I mean? You need to fix that. And so I'll tell you this: I think building a marketing company, like past the point of like, 100K, 200K a month, I'm talking like tens of millions a year, is one of the most stressful and complex businesses to build because I'm actually building hundreds of other businesses, not my own.
Yeah, not only that, but you have I want to know what your customer service freaking department looks like. Whoever your high level white glove hand holder is that knows how to deliver good news and bad news and basically keep and maintain clients. I mean, I've done agency work before. It's not easy.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy, but I mean, let's be real. Here's how I look at it. And I just had a call with my team about it this morning. They're like, results for this client, we've improved everything by 50%, but we haven't hit the targets we want. But we're really good at communicating, and that they love us, and they love us because we're over communicating. I was like, listen, guys, at the end of the day, no one gives a shit about how well you communicate. That's just a buffer to getting results. If you got results and never talked to a client, they wouldn't fire you because you were making them money. But vice versa, if you were not making them money, but you're over communicative all the time, you're just buying yourself more time to the end result, which is you getting fired.
So can we get totally naked?
Yeah.
Like you get 10 clients. Here we go.
Oh, okay,
you got 10 clients.
Yeah.
And how many of them are going to be happy? How many of them are going to drop you? And how many of them are going to say, we're getting somewhere, so we're going to stay?
Yeah, I'd say realistically, just to frame this, we really vet our clients. So like before we even take someone on, I'm auditing their entire business inside.
By the way, I just want to just acknowledge that I'm asking really cruel questions just because you're a marketer and I want to get you.
Hey, get me, bro. Go at it. But I'll tell you this, I'm not bullshitting you. We really, really vet. Like I turn away hundreds of thousands a month from my sales team closing because I don't think it's a good fit or I don't think we're going to make the money.
That's just smart business because all you want, you don't want stupid attrition from taking on a client within 2 weeks. Your entire team is rolling their eyes and just saying, oh my gosh, this is I don't care if they'll give us their money. We do not want this person's money.
And vice versa. That person, that one rotten apple, how many apples is that person going to rot, right?
Yeah.
Being that person that walks away. So that being said, we turn all the people away. From the people that we actually take, I would say like realistically 7 out of 10 get like booming results. Like we've either achieved KPIs or overachieved KPIs. Probably 2 out of 10 are like, we are not achieving KPIs, but we're still happy we're going to stay with you guys because you're way better than every other option we've tried. And then 1 out of 10 is like, you guys didn't get me any results. Yeah. And we actually, this is something I'd say all business owners should do. Every time someone leaves us, we force them to fill out a survey in order to cancel the contract or wherever they're at. And in that, it's a blind, no one sees it except management.
It's feedback, right?
It's honest, raw feedback.
How did we not do it? How did we miss it?
Yep. And every person that leaves is because they're like, great communication, best team I've ever worked with, didn't get the results that I got, period. And so at the end of the day, I don't really think anyone that's worked with us will go and badmouth us to anyone else because the experience we provided was still good. It just wasn't making them the money that justified the price that they were paying.
Dude, you have got to have seen some insane stories of just hero creation overnight, right? Someone had some kind of product. Dude, I got a buddy of mine. He took over his mentor's bat business. Camwood bats, basically it's these bats that are heavy weighted down at the handle. So if you practice with that bat, when you actually go and move to a normal bat, you're going to hit so much harder. Your ball's going to go so much further. And when he took over his buddy's business, it was doing $20,000 a year, and within his first year, he did millions. And it was through paid ads. Yeah. He basically just said, I'm just going to turn advertising. I'm going to figure out the game of I'm spending $15 on an acquisition to do a $120 sale, and he arbitraged it and figured it out, and then just started ramping it up and went nuts with it. And that's a zero to hero. Like that put him in a compromised situation of like, oh my gosh, this is like crazy overnight success. You probably see some of that.
I see a lot of that. So like, I'll give you an example. We have a perfume brand we work with. They were stuck probably doing like, I don't know, 100K a month, which to a lot of people might seem like a lot, but an e-com business with huge cost of goods, warehouse, shipping.
They were losing money.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And so 100K a month, they came to us, let's try it out. Let's see what happens. 18 months later now, in December alone, we did $2.7 million, right?
Jeez.
Just in December, which their entire 2 years wasn't doing.
Do you get a piece of the revenue, or do you just get the monthly, what's your model with people?
Yeah, so my model is actually super unique. In most businesses we work with, I actually take a retainer, which covers my cost or a little less usually. And then I actually make the money on the profit share increase. So I'll take the baseline that
What kind of profit share?
I mean, a lot of times it's mainly like 30% of the increase that we track back to us. So that's where our money's actually made. So if you pay me 20 grand, I'm spending 25 to 30 on payroll.
Can I tell you the guys I hate?
Yeah.
I hate the marketing guys that are like, I just want to make money on the retainer. And I'm like, if you are not motivated to produce the result, There's no way I'm giving you my account.
Dude, it's impossible. You might as well go get an employee to come work in house.
30%. Holy steepness, my friend. Wow.
Hey, if look, put it this way.
I'm not criticizing. I'm admiring.
No, and I'll tell you this, like everyone pays it because they know I'm bringing in more money and I track it. And so like, if let's just say you didn't have to do anything extra except maybe like film a webinar for me one time or two times and maybe some ads once or twice a month, like just here casually, 30 minutes here and there. And I'm going to bring you $10 million of net profit extra next year. You would gladly pay me $3 million. You know what I mean? Back to the 10K in, 30K out, right?
I got to know all the gray hairs, all the spike cortisol. Why do you do it?
Being a marketing company owner lets me touch hundreds of different kinds of companies and gives me a level of experience that I cannot get from running one company.
So you're doing it because you want experience?
Yeah.
Break that down.
Dude, I mean, here's how I look at it. So like background, like I was getting paid multiple six figures doing a sales job at 20. I quit that to go work at a company getting paid $36,000 a year because of experience. I recognize, listen, dude, I'm only 20. And if I just gain experience, more experience than all my friends that are sitting here worried about their paychecks and just the money that they're making and not the experience that they're gaining. If I just focus on experience for 10 years, by the time I'm 30, I'll make more in a year than they made in 10, right? And so I look at it now, I'm 30, and I'm like, dude, if I do the same thing for the next 10 years, obviously by making more money than I was before, but I'm focused mainly on experience, where will I be at when I'm 40? And at 40, like we both know, 40, you're still so young.
So you're telling me that your financial goals are less about money and it's more about where your choices today can take you.
100%. I mean, dude, Kris, let's be real, dude. Once you make a certain amount of money, it doesn't even need to be millions of dollars net a month or anything. Once you make a certain amount of money, like everything lifestyle-wise is not going to change significantly, right?
I tell people, I said life starts at $500,000 a year.
Okay.
And it's like, it's not rich, but $500,000 is enough to put you in a gated neighborhood, driving whatever cars you want, maybe not like crazy supercars. And you can travel a half a dozen times a year, first class, the way that you want, and probably still have leftover money after taxes for investing.
Agreed. So let's double it. Let's say $1 million net.
Sure.
Once you get $1 million net, it's like, unless I'm sitting here trying to buy yachts or private jets or like extreme luxuries that I don't really need, there really is marginal return.
It doesn't really impact the meaning. It doesn't really impact
most of your money past that is going into business. It's not even going back to Kris Krohn, right? It's like, oh, let's go buy this event space and do this crazy shit with it, right? And so most of it goes back there. So how I look at it is I'm like, okay, if that money's already taken care of, I know my worst case scenario. Like if I lose everything, I'm walking away with $1 million a year. Worst case, like everything goes poof, my skill set's there, I'm good. How can I develop that skill set to where worst case scenario, poof, everything disappears, I'm making $10 million a year net, right? If I lost everything. And so I'm always trying to develop that side because once my baseline of income is done, I'm just focused on like, how can I do the craziest shit? We were just talking in the car on the way here and Steve's like, hey, why did you buy a chicken franchise in Atlanta? I'm like, dude, that's like a side mission. It's like, if I can take my marketing company, plug into a industry I've never been in just for fun and go and take it from one location to 100 locations, sell it for $150 million, that's like accolade for me. It's like a video game. It's like, that's another stamp that I'm putting on my resume of like my personal outcomes of life and the crazy shit that I was able to do that people didn't expect.
So I got a crazy one for you. So 4 years ago, I had my best friend die in a paragliding accident.
Wow.
He was one of the top 100 YouTubers in the world. His name was Grant Thompson. His channel was King of Random. He brought families together with just homemade science projects, just crazy stuff. He's a legend. Such an incredible human being. Loved him so much. Still love him today. And when he died, it really caused me to rethink everything. Because he died when he was, I think it was 38. And it just got me wondering, like, why am I really here? And at that time, I was working some pretty crazy hours. And I got 4 kids, and I got this beautiful wife. And I'm like, I have all this money. Why aren't I giving myself permission to, like, really, really live the life that I want? So there's a question I became obsessed with, and I want to pose it. I've never asked it on my podcast before, but it's a question that has really shaped my life in very different ways. And here it is. How much is enough?
We talking money?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I'd say $5 million take home is enough to do whatever I want for the rest of my life. If you told me $5 million take home passive, the problem is I would still work. Do you see what I'm saying?
I'm not saying it's a problem. Why would you still work?
Because I need purpose. I need to do things. I need to feel like I'm building and achieving and creating a difference. Like, dude,
Can I ask you a weird question?
Yeah.
What if that's a limiting belief? No, for fun. I'm messing with you for fun's sake.
No,
okay?
it's
like,
cool.
what if that's jacked up?
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. But at the same time,
I'm
like,
not saying I'm right either.
can
Why
you
am I not wrong?
let's say you got to spend all the time you want with your family, your kids, everything, Kris. Would you really be able to just sit at home?
No, I know my number. I'm 30 hours a week. If I'm 40, it's too much. If I'm 20, it's too little. So my number's 30. When I'm productive on my mission, on my purpose for 30 hours a week, like that is the number I need to hit to fulfill me. I got a number for my wife. I have a number for each of my children. I've got a number for my health. I've got a number for my finance. I got a number for God. I've got a number for everything.
Yeah.
So balance for me is when I hit all my numbers.
I love that.
And so, curious, like right now, how many hours are you working a week?
Dude, I don't work that much.
I don't know what that means.
I work probably 40 to 45 hours a week.
Okay. So you work the average American.
Yes,
diet.
but I spend a lot of money to be able to work less on payroll, on teams, on infrastructure. You know what I mean? I could work 60 hours a week, take home a lot more money, but have way more headaches. And so I measure my entire life by headaches per dollar earned.
Yeah.
How can I lower my headaches per dollar earned in my life, right? And usually a lot of times that means paying other people to do
So
things.
the answer is you don't know what enough is because you said, even if I'm hitting 5 million passive a month, I'd still get after it. Why?
Dude, if you gave me $100 million a year,
Yeah.
I would still work.
Why?
Because I can't just sit there on my hands and do nothing, dude. I have to build.
Yes, why?
I can't even explain to you, man.
No, you need to. I need it right now.
Look, so even when I used to do network marketing,
Yeah.
like back in the day in school, people used to always come up and be like, I want to retire my mom. I want to do this. And they give all the reasons why they're working so hard. And I would just get up there and I'd just be like, listen, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I just want to be number one in this company. Like, it's that straightforward, right? And so I feel like I have this competitive thing inside of me that
Good,
forces
let me ask, why?
I mean,
I'm for real. Like, why?
Yeah,
what will happen if you're not number one? What will it mean?
I don't know, man. I just feel like I'm not living up to where I have believed my entire life that I belong.
Yeah, and where's that?
In the number one spot of whatever I'm doing. I can't tell you, man. Why do you still do all this? If you have all this money, everything is good in your life, Kris. Why do you still do this? Why do you still show up on a Monday and do a podcast and coach people in a community when it's really insignificant to your financial outcome?
So on Monday at noon and on Saturday at 8 a.m. are my 2 live moments every week where wherever I am in the world, I'll go live. Monday is to honor my financial partners, and because collectively we are amassing incredible amounts of wealth, and I choose as a bonus to go live with them beyond the real estate that I've already fulfilled on.
But why do you have those partners? You don't need them.
Because it gives me fulfillment. Because it adds meaning and fulfillment in my life.
Of like what? Like what fulfillment of what?
So I believe that when we get on our deathbed, we are going to look back on our life and we're going to wonder whether it was worth it. And I think that what we're going to be searching for will not be our accolades. It won't be a number in a bank account. It'll be a feeling. And the feeling cannot be purchased. It can only be earned by choices. And so my goal every single day is to live my life in a manner where I can go to bed and say, if I died today, this was the best day. This was the best life. I had a near-death experience when I was 19. I went into an ocean to try and save my sister's life. And that day when she and I came out of the ocean, I knew that I had not saved her. I knew that my life had been spared. And every day I've been asking the question, why? And I feel like I'm on borrowed time. So for me, every day gets to be filled with balanced greatness, which means that last night I was up late with my daughter having a really beautiful spiritual conversation. And my wife and I last night were doing things we've never done before to make just fun, crazy new memories. And every day I'm looking for things that ensure that when I get to the end, I will have no regret. I think that's probably what drives me the most, is I just don't want to have any regret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so for me, if we want to dig deeper in that sense,
Yeah.
it's a very similar place because it's not about me being number one. It's about me knowing that I did something bigger than what I was expected to do. And
What
so
were you expected to do?
what everyone else does,
Which is?
have a normal job, run a normal company.
So you hate mediocrity as much as I do.
I absolutely despise mediocrity with every ounce of my body.
Yeah, I know.
And so like even like these companies that I'm building, right? I could sit here and make way more money doing a lot shadier things because which tells me it's not about the money.
Yeah.
It's about the impact that I'm creating with the companies that I'm building, whatever it is. My marketing company, like
Do you have equity in any of these companies, not just a rev share agreement?
I have equity in a lot of companies, but a lot of companies you shouldn't take equity in. There's liabilities that maybe you're not super familiar with. There's a lot of risk when you take liability. When I take profit share, I'm getting my money at the end of the month. It's up to you make your wrong decisions internally in your business. That costs the entire company because you made a wrong decision. That doesn't fall on me and my equity.
Yeah, but that perfume company now is worth a lot.
Of course. But how much have I cash flowed from the perfume company as well? Which then goes into investing into a lot of other things as well.
You're 30 now. When you're 40, you'll look back on some exits and say,
I'll tell you, I have, and I'll call this now. I have about 5 9-figure exits that I'll do by the time I'm 35 to 37. All already set. It's going the same way we're mapping it out. So I'm not too concerned with that.
and then what?
Again, and then what, right? And here's my problem, man. Here's what makes me tick. This is why, and I know you're all about real estate. This is why I am not super deep into real estate. I have a few million in real estate, but I don't have tens of millions in real estate. And it's because it's not, I know this sounds stupid. It's because I can't control it and it's not as active and moving at the pace that I want to choose to move it at. And so when I go into another company, I can dictate the speed.
Yeah.
I can say, I want to 10x this company in the next year, and I
So
can get
if
that.
I were to do your financial game plan,
Yeah.
this might bring a little bit of madness,
Yeah.
sanity to the madness.
Yeah.
It's number one, don't do what all the mediocre people do, which is put your money in stagnated single-digit ROIs. Number two, you put a baseline in real estate, because I earn on average 34% a year on my money. That means my money doubles every other year. It's predictable. It doesn't matter if the market goes up or down, and it is not getting me rich today, and it's not getting me rich tomorrow. But for the average person, you wait 20 years,
Yeah.
and they're sitting on not millions, but could literally be tens of millions of dollars. So
Yeah.
it's a long game. And the long
What are
game,
those investments, though?
What's that?
What are those investments?
For me, it's single family homes.
Okay.
So I hate real estate in general.
Yeah.
So what I do is I gravitate to a strategy that allows me to optimize ROI. So a lot of people will say, dude, why aren't you doing what Grant Cardone did? Why aren't you scaling to multifamily and commercial? And I'm like, because it's all about the ROI. I can't get those other investments to produce what I can in single family. When I buy single family homes, 30% below the median in the top 5 out of 324 markets, and I rent them out for 5 to 7 years before I sell them, and I crank out a 34% annual ROI, my money doubles every other year. Now, that's not going to get me rich fast, but it is a diversification, right?
Yep.
Then I move on to owning businesses that have high asymmetric upside, because you can get into triple-digit returns.
Yep.
Owning businesses, the ones that you own and have other people work for you, especially when you're no longer the operator, that's when you can enter quadruple digits. That's where you look at how little money you've put into this business and how much it's paid you back. I would not be surprised if you're quadruple digit on your ROI. And that's the one that you're talking about, where you're like, I want to feel fast. And I'm like, cool, I want to feel fast too. And so I have legacy wealth that is building my generational long-term that is so passive and doesn't take a minute of my life. I personally, because of how much I have, I spend probably 30 to 60 minutes a month on it. But for most people, it is insanely purely passive.
Yeah.
The triple, and then what you're getting into, the quadruple digit stuff, man, yes, it is. It is about speed. It is a place where you have total control. You can dominate, but you're also active. And that means that it owns you.
Am I, though? How active am I?
40 to 45 hours a week, bro. That's your prime time.
But
let me guess. Most of your working hours happen between 9 and 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your business. By the way, it's not a bad. Like, this is not a slam. I'm just saying.
No. I'm open to this conversation.
I'm just saying your business owns you.
Yeah. My main business, which is bad marketing.
Yeah.
My other companies, though, I probably put in maybe an hour a month.
Yeah. And by the way, if that's what fulfills you, then that's where you're supposed to be. When my buddy died in that tragic accident, I pulled out a blank piece of paper and I said, you know what? I could be dead tomorrow too. And I said, so what life do I want to live? And so I decided, you know what? On Mondays, I'm going to make videos. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm going to work from home. On Wednesdays, I'm going to turn my cell phone off and just play with my wife all day. We're going to get in the jet. We're going to go somewhere fun. We're going to go create memories. We're going to do something wild. We're going to do something boring. We're just going to be together. Friday's my kid's day. Saturday's my day. Sunday's God's day. That's my schedule. I ran that schedule for 4 years.
What financial position were you when you made that decision?
I was in a financial position where I could do that. Now,
But isn't that the key here?
yes, but here's what needs to be defined. Like, you look at how much money you're making, and you could live the lifestyle if it were right for you.
Yeah.
You could live that lifestyle when you're making $200,000 a year. Like, you don't have to be a millionaire. You don't have to make millions. You don't have to be worth
Fair enough.
to live that kind of schedule to own your time.
Yeah.
No, I think, and that's just actually just a game of life that I love to gamify.
Yeah.
Which is, where are my minutes going and why?
Yeah.
And are they producing the meaning that I need or want in my life? Where I got really messed up is I had figured out how to double my income year over year over year. And my time at one point was worth $500 an hour, and then it was 1,000, then it was 10,000. And I have some activities today where my time is worth $1 million an hour. And I've learned that it'll never stop growing. It'll never stop expanding. But then I would go and try to spend some time with my kid, and I get messed up in my head. I'm like, I'm sitting here playing a video game with my son, and this hour I could literally be making $30,000. And it messed with me, because I'm like, how do you rectify that? And I had to find an answer to the question of how much is enough, so that I could find time with my loved ones or time in the gym as more valuable than the kind of money people would die for.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. And I'll tell you, when I'm spending time with my family, my wife, my daughter, soon to be new daughter as well, and my friends, I don't think about the work stuff. Those are separate, right? Yeah. And so that helps a little bit. But let me ask you this. This is important context here, so that you can kind of understand where I'm coming from.
Are you having fun today?
I'm having a blast.
Do you think we're going to be friends when this is over?
That's your decision, not mine.
No, I'm just messing, bro. You're doing a great job.
I'll tell you. Let me tell you this. So, let's say I walked into here in this studio, right, and you like me, right? That's eliminated. You like me, which, by the way, for everyone listening, he hates me. He's trying to get me out of this office as quickly as possible. So okay. Let's just say I came in neutral. You like me. Eddie's a great guy. Love Eddie. Great. Which one would allow us to build a more fruitful and intimate business and personal relationship? Would it be me coming in and saying, hey, Kris, I take home $500,000 a year and I work like 10 hours and that's my life and it's awesome? Or me saying, Kris, I'm ambitious. I'm trying to do $100 million next year and I own these 7 companies and I have 400 employees. I'm boom, boom, boom. I'm trying to do all these things and grow and I'm not trying to be mediocre. Which one, like honestly, which one gains more respect in your eyes?
So for me, it's actually not a question of respect. My question is, how do I like how I feel when I'm around you?
Of course, but that's done. That's settled. That's neutral. They're equal in both scenarios.
Okay.
You like me equally.
And now is this am I deciding whether I'm going to do business with you?
Which one would allow you to be more, what's the word? Motivated, I guess, to want to build a connection in the business.
So so honestly, Eddie, it's a really interesting question, because the obvious answer would be the greater respect would go to the more financially astute, but it's actually not really true. There's 2 other things that I'm thinking of. The first one is a blue chip company. Why are blue chip companies earning 8% a year on their average when we look at the top 500 companies in the world? Because they already made it, right?
Yeah.
There's a little bit something about that where it's just like, so it kind of depends. If you're more successful, but you're like how ambitious are you?
But I'm not unsuccessful.
What do you want?
I'm still only working 10 hours a week.
Well, that was the guy that was only making $500,000 a year, I thought.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So for that guy,
aren't you gonna look at me and be like, dude, Eddie doesn't care to actually do more shit. He just wants to work 10 hours a week and be with his family.
It depends. He might be young and hungry, and this might be his first rodeo where he literally wants to go somewhere really big. And so I love what you're asking, because what I like to do is evaluate the character of a human. Yes, your result does matter to me. Yeah. I want to be really clear. Yes, the result is really important.
Of course, but we're trying to dig deep here, right?
But I'm looking for value alignment. Like right now, I have a business partner that just stole $3.2 million from me.
Ouch.
No, it's okay. It's not the first time.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here, and the individual just lawyered up, and which is also bizarre to me. I'm like, this is really cool. You steal from me, and then you okay. And by the way, that's the world.
Yeah,
and,
of course.
And by the way, I'm not sour about it. I'm not unhappy about it, because it's kind of what can happen. And when I look at the early warning signs of character and kind of what happened, it surprises me, but only a little bit. What I've been looking more at than anything else is, do we have values that we respect? Like for me, I typically like if I found out that you were a womanizer, and that you had a poker problem, and you had an alcohol, problem, would I judge you and say you're a less attractive business partner? Yes, I'm going to judge you.
For sure.
And I'm going to say you're less attractive, because you're now less reliable as a human being. Even if you've had really tremendous success, value alignment means we could literally hang outside of business and genuinely have a good time instead of an awkward time.
Yeah.
And that is actually something that I look for, because business, when everyone's making money, is fun. But the moment and business will do this. The moment business turns on you, the moment the algorithm turns on you and paid ads like just literally goes bump in the night, and it's going to be a shitstorm and it's going to be panic everywhere. Like, you are not going to be like, your life is not going to be fun for the next 3 or 4 or 5 months until something stabilizes. You hack a new marketing strategy, something gets figured out. iOS just screwed up the new latest whatever. It's like that can happen in your world. I want to know how we get along when that happens. That's important to me.
Yeah, and I think I'll tell you how we would get. I think we would get along just fine, because here's my theory. Just having spoken to you and talking to people who are, look, you can make content all day, right? Like, and people can perceive how Kris is on content. But I've asked people who are business partners with you and do business with you, how is Kris actually, right? And they have the opportunity to do it behind closed doors and tell me, listen, honestly, I wouldn't do this with him, or Kris is this kind of guy. Everyone speaks highly. And I would imagine, and I had a similar situation. They didn't steal $3.2 million, but they stole over $1 million from me. Very similar situation. Day my daughter was born, I was in the hospital. Literally, my wife's pushing out my daughter, and they're clearing the warehouse, clearing the bank accounts, taking everything, right, behind my back, even though I built the company for them. And what I did, which is what I assume what you did in this situation too, and obviously you're still dealing with it, was I was like, where did I go wrong? What could I have done to prevent this from being a scenario, as opposed to sitting there, and creating, yeah, exactly, right, and creating all this negativity. And so what I did was, instead of sitting here and going after them in court and doing all this stuff, was I said, listen, how much energy is this going to drain from me, where I could go and chase this, $1 million, let's call it, and go and run after this for 2 years and bring negativity into my life, my wife's life, my daughter's life, my business, not show up the way that I want to? Or could I just let this go and put that energy and direct it towards something that's bringing positivity to my life and actually going and generating more revenue? And how can I self-reflect to avoid this being a problem in the future, as opposed to being like, those guys suck and that's why this didn't work out? What did Eddie Maalouf do that was wrong, or something that I missed that allowed this to happen in the first place?
That is the hallmark, I think, of a successful entrepreneur, is you're always asking, how is this mine? Like, what was my part in this? And most of the world that are walking zombies, I call it the zombie apocalypse. It's real. It's happening every day. It's all the people that subscribe to mediocrity, that literally they can't fog a mirror. They don't have passion. They don't have excitement. They're just literally lost in the world that people told them how to live. And they're just like, yeah, I'm just supposed to do what society's told me to do, and what my parents told me to do, and what my religion tells me to do. And I'm not a free agent. I'm not a free thinker. That's the majority of human beings out there. And what they do is they live in victimhood. Victimhood is so popular. It's so prevalent online. You can see it everywhere, because people want to be seen. They want to be significant. It's one of our greatest human needs. And if you can't be significant for doing something right, then we want to be known for doing something wrong. As weird as that sounds. But how you break that model is by becoming accountable and asking, is it I? How did I do it? Where did I misstep? How am I accountable for this? And then I just want to learn and grow, and then grow beyond it.
Yeah, most people won't think like that, though.
I know.
Like you said, I mean, dude, I can't count how many people are like, fuck stocks. I lost so much money in stocks because those stocks sucked.
Yeah.
Like, no, dude, you just didn't sell at a certain time, and that's your mistake at the end of the day, right?
Do you believe in God?
I believe in God, yeah.
Tell me about that.
I've been raised Catholic my whole life, so strong belief in God. Went to Catholic school my whole life. Priests, nuns, everything around us, so religious in that side. Ironically, though, as I grew older, I grew further away from church, not God, but church, because the environments that I was in church, actually, I found that there was a lot more drama and attention inside of the church environment that I was in versus actual faith and practice of faith in general. And so that was just not an environment. That was an environment that was pulling me down, even though my belief in God was still strong outside.
So thank you for sharing that, by the way. I know it's really none of my business, and it's cool that you're being as open as you are. I love how much you're letting me see you.
Yeah.
What do you think God would say your purpose is?
For me, I mean, I think I'm kind of fulfilling my purpose that God would put upon me. And again, this is back to the expectations upon myself that have been placed by me and the people around me, even at a young age. And I think God would tell me, I want you to do something bigger and impact the lives of many other people in a positive way. Like, here's how I look at it, man. If I have 300 employees that I'm literally paying for their entire living for to be a part of this company, not only am I impacting those 300 people and their families and their kids and providing a life for all these people so that they can go and do what they want to and spend the time with their family, but also the 350 businesses that I'm working with. If I worked with Kris Krohn, and Kris Krohn has 100,000 people he's impacting every single year, I'm now impacting those 100,000 people on top of that. And so honestly, if I was sitting right now at the judgment table with God, and we're talking from a purpose-driven perspective, and the man that I have, the man that I am to my wife, to my daughter, to the people around me, and in my business, I think I would check out just fine, to be honest. And that is what allows me to sleep at night just fine.
Good for you.
And I say that humbly, by the way.
No,
I say that with no
feel you.
ego. I
No, thank
authentically
you.
say that, man.
No, I love that. No, it tells me that you care. Tells me that you have these thoughts, you think about them, and you're ultimately trying to figure out where you stand in the greater scheme of everything. I think often when a lot of entrepreneurs that are driven into greatness, I think sometimes it is that they feel called to doing something bigger and more impactful on the planet. Sometimes it's because they've got monster-sized egos and they have huge greed needs, and they would never say it that way, but it's just they want to be something meaningful. They want to be something important. And I also just don't even think there's anything wrong with wanting to have the spoils of success either. You know, I think that everyone is accountable to God in their own heart for who they become and what they do with what they have, and it's none of anyone else's business. But it's really cool for me to just sit here across from you and have you say, no, Kris, actually, I think I check out with God really well. I approve of how I'm living my life. I don't think there's a lot of people that say that. And whether you're right or whether you're wrong, I don't think matters. The fact is, I see that you believe it and that you're living your life with that level of intentionality and consciousness.
So let me take you on a topic here real quick. We were talking about this yesterday. Do you ever feel like because you're successful, that people around you who are not as successful as you judge your character negatively solely based on the fact that you have success that they don't?
Oh, yeah, dude. I call that the pride of the poor, the have-nots. The people that have less, there are a ton of those people. For sure, I felt that judgmental energy that they look, and it's jealousy at the end of the day. They have to find a way. Human beings, it's not even about me. Human beings have to find a way to justify their actions. If I were to molest a human being and do something that I consider to be evil and awful, and yet I'm still alive, I would have to find a way to justify my existence and why I did what I did. And that means that we have to create a very warped version of reality. And I think part of the purpose of life is for us to do that, to actually warp our realities from our mistakes, and then to figure out how to undo that and correct that until we can see accurately and live accurately. And so that's a part of the game, I think.
It's a very interesting perspective because we were talking about this last night. We're like, dude, I could be the best person ever. I could give half my money away behind the scenes to charity. I could do all the best things in life. And just because there's a perception of this person does better than I am or the money that there is, this person's an asshole, or we don't talk to this person because of this. And everyone kind of justifies their own reasons why they aren't in that position. It's very interesting just because you were kind of talking about the topic of wealth and perception and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, part of, like, when I back up to my journey 15 years ago, I was a crazy, crazy level people pleaser, which is just a fancy word for saying liar, right? I was a chameleon. I would shape-shift myself to whoever I was around to be liked by them and accepted by them because what I wanted the most was to belong. But I wasn't being true to myself, and I actually didn't know who I was. I was too busy living in someone else's reality, trying to figure out who I needed to be for them. And I thank God for some of the mentors that I had that really woke me up and helped me realize, Kris, you've got to shed this. And all that happened before I became an influencer. I'm really, really grateful because being an influencer in my world means that, dude, there's a ton of people that are grateful for the gold nuggets and the wisdom and things that I'm passing along that are useful for them. But oh my hell, the haters, they are certainly out in full force. And there's a lot of people that hate me too. And in truth, I don't care. I don't even care what percentage like me versus don't like me. Like, I love me. I love and accept who I am. And I had to give that up a long time ago. So when people judge me, I could give them a hug or thank them, and it would be genuine and it would be real.
So would you still make content if you weren't making money?
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
You would just voluntarily invest all this money that you've invested into the studio?
Fortunately, there's certain things I've learned to do smart.
Yeah.
Like batch content means that for the most part, I make content once a week for a handful of hours on a Monday afternoon.
But but now in this scenario, you make $0. You get 0 leads, you get 0 business, you only just get views. Those views guaranteed lead to $0.
Okay, so I'll drop something then a little interesting on you because I'm right in the middle of something right now. I'm in process right now, and this is 3 weeks ago. I'm in deep meditation. I'm talking, to my Heavenly Father and my Heavenly Mother, and Mother leans out, and I just feel the energy say, we don't need you. Like, you've spent the last 20 years of your life trying to create so much impact and change in the world. We just want you to know that we got this and we don't need you. And it was for the first time ever I felt a release from this obligation that was burning in my soul to have to do something to be good enough or worthy enough. And since then, I've been actually asking, I'm like, oh, I wonder where I'm headed next. And I wonder in the next 5 years if I become largely obscure to the world, not found on social media or anything, because I've completed that phase of my life and I'm going to move on to whatever my next game is. And that happens sometimes. You see these people that you follow and then they disappear. But there's another part of me that knows that I have other games to play. They're more spiritual games. And I have a suspicion that I'll be using a lot of my business prowess to feed that engine. And in that engine, there's nothing to gain. There's no money to get. So when I ask, do I have a history of doing things for no money? Yes. For years now, I love doing pro bono. I will mentor people for free. I'm not very public about it. I find these people, I'll literally even have them meet in my home, and I'll teach and I'll educate and I'll help them. And then after we're done, 3, 6, 12 months later, I just send them off. I've got other people writing a $500,000 check to mentor with me, right? So the idea of doing things and getting for something for nothing is actually really important to me. I once had a very transactional heart. My relationship with my wife had grown from beautiful in love to transactional love, where everything felt like a trade. And I felt like we were heading hard for the bottom of divorce. And God put this game in my heart, and he said, it's called the unconditional love game. Every day wake up and turn to Colleen and ask her how you can love her. And then whatever she gives you, do it. And expect nothing in return, no strings attached. And I started playing that game, and within 3 weeks of playing, my heart was changed, and I felt that I stepped back into this, I would do anything for you, and I don't care what I get back. But that game isn't just played in my marriage, it's played in other areas of life. And I actually love doing things, getting nothing back. My wife and I just got back from Guatemala, did a really cool service mission for an orphanage out there with 61 kids, mostly 10 and under, mostly girls that were, they were sex trafficked. And now we're rehabilitating them. We're getting them therapy and schooling. They can't go back in most cases to their families. I was in Ukraine last year 3 times. And I actually love playing the games where there's no exchange back. And I have a suspicion that in a few years from now, that's kind of what the majority of my life is going to feel like. So, yeah.
That's a great answer, by the way. And I'll tell you, the older I get, the more aligned I am with that. I'll tell you, I personally have nothing that can satisfy me or fulfill me more than giving back without having any expectation of return. I'll tell you, I'll tell my wife this. I went to an event. Someone came running out the room. It was a huge event. It was probably 6,000, 7,000 people. I left. I was kind of just sitting on my own, left the room. Someone came running out the room. Hey, Eddie, I just want to tell you, you changed my life because of XYZ that you taught online for free. I've been able to, quit my job. My girl can go to private school now. He's crying in front of me. He's like, me and my wife talk about how grateful we are for that and how much you've changed my life. This dude never paid me $1, never done anything. And that moment is more valuable than someone wiring me $10 million.
I think actually that's why I love social so much, is that it is a huge marketing engine, but 99.999% of the people that watch my content, and let's just talk about those that like my content or get benefit out of it, there will never be a financial exchange. And I actually love, this is my favorite business model on the planet. I love that, I'll pay $1 million a year to do all of my production and put content out to the world in mass scale. And yeah, I have a way to financially monetize that really, really intelligently. But I think I get a lot greater joy out of all the people that I get to meet from time to time. But for the most part, I'll never know, that are just consuming my content and getting value out of it.
And you're
cool.
changing their lives, their families' lives, everything forever, dude.
Yeah, for some of them.
And that's why I'm asking, because it's very interesting. Because I think the less money you have, the more scarce you are in that mindset, and the more that you have to monetize everything that you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And I feel like the quicker someone gets to the abundance mindset of let me just give and not expect in return, and that alone will bring me more satisfaction. I can make money in other ways. I think it just creates a lot happier of a human being overall.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Eddie, for anyone that's listening here, a couple things. One is I do believe in what you're doing as a marketer. And it's hard to find good marketers. I'm just going to say it. It's very, very difficult. And you can't scale something to the size that you have unless you figured some things out. In fact, the first thing out of your mouth was communication is key, but that's shit if I can't produce a result. And I got to tell you that's meaningful to me, because most of these marketing companies, they are awful, awful communicators. And you've figured a lot of things out, and you are doing a lot of great good in the world, and I really appreciate it. If people want to learn more about bad marketing and just even you, where do they go?
Yeah, I mean, it's just my my full name on YouTube and Instagram, Eddie Maalouf. Very easy to find me. And if someone wants to apply to work with us as a company, you should go badmarketing.com. Pretty simple. Fill out the application, and my team will get in touch and figure out if you're one of the people we decide to vet to keep or not.
Yeah, and then there's a question that I didn't ask today, and I don't know what it is, but if you wanted to answer it, if there was a final message on your heart that you want to share with anyone that's been listening today, what would you want them to know?
I would just say, look, you have a lot of viewership. There's a lot of people listening to this. You know, whoever you are that's listening to this right now, you are one of many people that are listening to this. And I think if we all can collectively come together, and if there's anything that can be taken from this podcast, it's to be able to pass it forward and to give without expectation of return. If all the people who are listening to this just take that upon themselves to do a little bit more of that throughout the rest of their lives, I think we have enough people listening to this to change the world and change the way that the world operates and create a lot of good. And I think that's really all of that I ask from people that are listening to this right now.
Eddie Maalouf, everybody, thank you for joining me today on the Kris Krohn Show. We'll see you on the next episode.